Good morning. Today we're talking about the sport industry environment. So looking at globalization, ethics, and social responsibility primarily. This is chapter 2, part 1. So we'll start out with the learning outcomes. After studying this chapter, you should be able to describe the 5 components of the internal environment. Explain the 2 primary principles of total quality management, or TQM. Explain how factors in the external environment affect the internal business environment, and state the differences between domestic, international, and multinational businesses. List the lowest and highest risk ways to take a business global, and explain the stakeholders' approach to ethics. And last but not least, discuss the 4 levels of social responsibility in business. So we're talking about the internal environment. Organizations have people working together for a common purpose to provide goods or services. The term product is commonly used to mean both goods and services because many products have an element of both. So when we use the term product throughout this text, we mean both goods and services. The organization's internal environment includes the factors within its boundaries that affect its performance. Organizations have control over their internal resources as opposed to external environmental factors that they don't have control over. The organization's internal environment includes the factors within its boundaries that affect its performance, such as management, mission, resources, systems, process, and structure. Managers are responsible for the organization's performance as they develop the visionary mission, strategies, and plans to successfully compete. They plan, they organize, lead, and control using internal factors, and how they manage is affected by the external environment they compete in. Or they need to use their internal factors and adjust them to stay competitive in their changing external environment. Clearly, the NBA Dallas Mavericks would not be the team it is today if team owner Mark Cuban didn't continually scrutinize both environments. Managers are also responsible for developing the culture, the organizational culture that will identify the values and beliefs needed to achieve the mission. Mission should be relevant to your stakeholders. So stakeholders are people affected by the organization's activities. There are internal stakeholders within the organization, that's your employees. And external are outside of the organization, such as customers and fans. You'll see a list here of the list of external stakeholders. So it could include your employees, your alumni, your fans, your shareholders. So they have a share in your company, your customers, your suppliers, and the government. Managers have to take trade-offs when stakeholder interests conflict. For example, professional athletes want more pay and fans want lower prices to attend games. Salaries and prices, tickets, food and drinks and parking affect image and attendance. Mission and objectives are defined as the outcome that the organization strives to achieve. The other internal environment factors, management resources, systems, process, and structure, are the means the organization uses to achieve its ends. Managers develop the mission statement and set objectives, but they are also one of the 4 means to achieve the ends. As a sport manager, you may not write the mission statement and set organizational objectives, but you will definitely be responsible for helping to achieve them. So here you can see in the diagram, the ends are your mission and your objectives. The means are how you manage your organization, the resources that you use, the systems, processes that you use, and the structure of your organization. There is a flow from the ends to the means and back the other way. So there's a little bit of a feedback loop. Organizations need resources to accomplish their mission. As stated in Chapter 1, organizational resources can be human, financial, physical, and informational. Human resources are critical because people develop the mission and achieve it with the resources given. Performance-based differences between firms can be seen in how they acquire and use their resources. For example, the team that gets and develops the best players wins the most games. And teams like the MLB, New York Yankees, have the money to get top baseball players. As a sport manager, you will use these 4 resources to achieve your organization's mission. The systems process is the method used to transform inputs into outputs. The final outputs are the organization's products. To be successful, firms strive to accelerate the systems process to increase performance through teamwork. So you can see here, as shown in figure 2.2, the systems process has 4 components. The inputs are the resources, the human, the financial, physical, and informational, used to provide the organization's products. The athletes are the inputs for teams such as the NBA LA Lakers. The transformation process takes the inputs and transforms them into outputs. The LA Lakers play a game against the Boston Celtics. The output are the products offered to customers and fans. Either the Lakers or the Celtics win the game. It's the output. And feedback is used to improve the systems process at all 3 stages. It's ongoing. It's a controlling function. As the game is being played, Laker and Celtics coaches are giving feedback to their players on how to win the game. After the game is over, the teams review areas they can improve upon and work on them through practices. Organization structure, their resources so that they can transform inputs into outstanding output or products. An organization structure is the departmentalization of its resources to accomplish its mission and objectives. Organizations are commonly structured by functional departments, such as finance or accounting, marketing, production and operations, and human resources or personnel. As a system, like we talked about in Chapter 1, each department or player on a team affects the organization or team as a whole, and each department or player affects every other department or player during the competition. Thus, teamwork. As a sport manager, you will be responsible for some part of the organization structure, perhaps a department or a team within the department. Quality is needed within the systems process to ensure successful outcomes. Proponents of total quality management believe that customers, fans in the case of many sport organizations, assess the quality of the organization's outputs by comparing what they need or want from the product or the goods and services to their actual experience with the product. Customer value is the benefit that customers obtain if they buy a product or attend a sport event. Customers and fans are not simply buying a product or attending an event, they are also buying the benefit or value they expect to derive from it. Value therefore motivates us either to buy or not to buy products or attend events. When fans buy tickets to an MLB New York Yankees versus Los Angeles Angels game, they expect to watch a high quality game because star players such as Mike Trout and Giancarlo Stanton will be playing for their teams. Sport organizations pay close attention to quality and value because these are what attract and retain fans and customers. Total quality management isn't just about coaches and athletes striving for continuous improvement. Total quality management, or TQM, is the process through which everyone in the organization focuses on the customer or fan in order to continually increase value. Enjoying a professional sport event is not simply about your team winning, it is entertainment. When you attend, you also want speedy ticket sales, helpful ushering, good food, and clean restrooms. The major principles of TQM are to deliver customer and fan value and to continually improve the system's processes. The organization's external environment includes factors outside its boundaries that affect its performance. Although managers can control the organization's internal environment, their influence over what happens outside of the organization is limited. So they need to monitor the environment and change to continually improve. The external environment includes 9 factors discussed next. So the competition, the suppliers, your workforce, your customers and your shareholders, society, technology, economy, and government. We're going to talk about each of these next. Your fans and customers. Without giving customers value, you don't have a successful business. Pro teams would go out of business without enough loyal fans who buy tickets. The Dallas Cowboys had the most highly attended games in the NFL in 2016 with a total of 740,318 spectators, an average of 92,539 fans per game. The Los Angeles Dodgers remained the best supported team for the third year in a row for MLB, with a total of 3.7 million fans in 2016 and an average of 45,719 spectators per game. Your competitors. So organizations must compete for customers and fans. Scouts gather information to help their teams beat the other teams. Today, in some areas, fans can choose from competing teams like the MLB, New York Yankees, or New York Mets. Sport is entertainment, and people can select other things to do besides watch sports. This tends to happen when teams lose too many games. Your suppliers. So Dick's buys equipment and apparel from suppliers to sell to its retail customers. Nike, Reebok, and Under Armour compete and pay big to be the official apparel company for each pro team and to sponsor athletes to help sell their apparel. Suppliers play an important part in an organization's success. Athletes and workers. Your sport business success depends on having good employees throughout the organization. The best athletes are highly recruited by college coaches and are paid millions by the pros. Team owners and shareholders. The owners of a corporation or pro sports team known as shareholders influence management. Michael Jordan, or MJ, is the first athlete to become a billionaire and major owner of a professional team. MJ acquired a 90% owner's stake in the NBA's Charlotte Hornets. In 2017, Derek Jeter was part of a group of investors that gave him about a 4% stake in the group buying the MLB Miami Marlins. Also part of the group, Jordan now owns approximately half of 1%. Jeter and Jordan became part owners of the Marlins after a $1.2 billion purchase from Jeffrey Lora that included $800 million in cash. Derek Jeter was ranked first on the Entrepreneur magazine list of the most entrepreneurial athletes of 2017. Society and activists. Our society, to a great extent, determines what are acceptable business and athletic practices. Individuals and activist groups pressure organizations to make changes, such as renaming the NFL Washington Redskins. And technology. In the sport industry, intuition is being replaced by science to improve athletes' performance with better diets, supplements, training, and sport apparel and equipment. Moneyball Big Data is technology driven. And the economy. Organizations have no control over economic growth, inflation, or interest rates. Sports are an important part of the economy in many countries. When economic activity measured by the GDP or gross domestic product is slow or in recession, fewer fans attend games at the stadium. With inflation, prices of tickets and other sport products go up, as we've seen in the market that we're in right now. Sport regulations and governments. National, state, and local governments all set laws and regulations that organizations must obey. And these laws and regulations can change. Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 required athletic opportunities for females in high school and college. Title IX led to explosive growth in the number of female athletes, creating a large new market for sport equipment and apparel businesses like Spalding and Nike. DraftKings was required by some state laws to change or stop fantasy sports games, although not government-owned and operated. Sport organizations such as the NCAA or National Collegiate Athletic Association makes rules that colleges are required to obey. So you can decide whether you want to be a reactive manager that makes changes only when forced to by the external factors. Usually it's not a fun time for you or your employees. Or you can be a responsive manager that prepares for change that they predict will come about. or even an interactive manager that believe they can create a significant part of their future and thereby control how it will affect their organizations. That's the end of part one. We will start up part two in another presentation. I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day.